shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. It's hard not to talk about the 800-pound gorilla sitting in the middle of the living room. I'm talking about the greatest prophetic fulfillment in 2,000 years that appears to be taking shape right before our eyes. The Trump train, headed for a Middle East peace agreement, has left the station and is picking up speed at an alarming rate. Why would we describe the rapidly escalating peace drive as the 800-pound gorilla? Because, if successful, the resulting peace deal will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon. That's why it's hard to not talk about it. We'll tell you much more on today's edition of End of the Age. Wow. I have been absorbing over the last few days all of the events that are moving us toward a peace agreement in the Middle East. Now, we know we've gone through periods like this before when it looked like we were on the brink. But this is another one. And since we know from the Bible that this is going to happen, you can't ignore it, especially knowing where we are when all the other events of end-time Bible prophecy are also converging. So I want to talk to you about the latest developments, and I'm talking about over the last few days, that point to a very heightened level of activity pushing toward a Middle East peace agreement. I want to take you first of all to an article from Israel National News. This came out on the 15th of March. It's entitled, "Netanyahu is Cooking Up a Palestinian State." This article was written by M.K. Bezalel Smotrich. And Smotrich is a conservative. He's a member of the Jewish Home, and he fears that Netanyahu is going to spring a peace deal that will give away Israel's homeland. Listen to what he has to say. Smotrich on Tuesday evening warned that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is drawing up a diplomatic move that will result in the establishment of a Palestinian state. Now let's pause right there. You have to understand that Smotrich is one of those people that believes Israel should not give up any of her promised land. He believes the Bible when God said, if you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, then they will become pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides. He believes that all of the promised land, as it is described in the Bible, should be held by the nation of Israel. And he's right. Now, there are others on the other side that say, but that's a 4,000-year-old promise. You can't build anything on that. And the time has come to reach an accommodation with the Palestinians. Well, nevertheless, Smotrich says he believes Netanyahu is on the brink of working up a peace deal secretly that once put together, he will spring on the nation of Israel, sell it, and it'll be too late. The article went on to say, in recent weeks, there have been too many indications that the Prime Minister is quietly cooking up a process that will lead to the establishment of Palestine, Smotrich wrote on Facebook. All this talk about a deal and a regional peace conference, the freezing of construction outside the blocks, That's talking about the settlement blocks that Israel has established near Jerusalem. Now, those who do not know about the build outside the blocks essentially say that the state of Israel is not going to remain there. So there are people who say, I'm not building outside these settlement blocks because we're not going to hold on to those when the final deal is struck. And the reports about a deal that Trump proposed to Abbas for negotiations in return for a construction freeze. Reports in Haaretz on contacts between Netanyahu and Herzog to establish a unity government based on the renewal of the political process. Now, what does that mean? Netanyahu has been threatened by his right-wing partners that if he makes a deal to give away Israel's land, that they will forsake the coalition, which would trigger elections in the Israeli peace process. But if they did forsake, according to this report, Netanyahu has been secretly talking to Herzog, who's head of the Zionist Union, the liberal wing of politics in Israel, so that they could quickly come in and prop up his administration and they could go ahead and do the peace deal. So that's what's being reported by Haaretz newspaper, a very liberal, left-leaning paper in Israel. In addition, Netanyahu's desire to build an Iran bypass route with moderate Arab states in which the price Israel will have to pay in order to build this axis will be on the settlement front, he continued, listing what he perceived as indications of Netanyahu's move. So Smotrich has put all this together. He's watching these moves taking place, and he's saying Netanyahu is up to something. He's building this coalition between Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Egypt, and now then Donald Trump has announced his desire for a regional peace conference in either Jordan or Egypt in the very near future. And Smotrich just says, I've been watching these indicators a long time, and it's obvious to me that Netanyahu is secretly working on a deal, and only those within his very tight inner circle know what's going on. The members of the Israeli Knesset don't know, and most of the other people involved, they're on the outside looking in, but they're not being told what is really happening. Now, the article continued. Everything is happening quietly and behind the scenes. Ministers and Knesset members are excluded from the contacts with the new administration, and perhaps only a very small group of secret partners within the prime minister's circle understands where he is navigating this ship, wrote Smotrich. In this situation, and if we allow Netanyahu to continue to cook up this political process behind the scenes, he will surprise all of us one morning with a closed deal, a completed deal, that will include a regional move in which he will try to reach an understanding with Trump and several other heads of state in the Arab world over the borders of the state of Israel. These borders will probably overlap with the settlement blocks when the rest of the territory, more than 90%, will be designated for a future Arab entity. This is what Netanyahu defines as state minus, in which the IDF maintains security control. What's that mean? What Netanyahu has discussed is giving the Palestinians a state, but it must be a disarmed state over which the Israeli Defense Forces would maintain security control. He said that our state is going to be so narrow at the waist, so small, that we cannot turn loose of the security control to anybody else. So we would maintain security control, but we would sign a deal that in every other area the Palestinians would be sovereign. Now, continuing on, the Arabs will want it established right away, Smotrich warned. When that happens, it will be too late By remaining silent, we are the bridge on which Netanyahu is cooking up the deal. And when he has it in his hand, he will throw us out and bring in what is left of the Zionist Union. That's Herzog is the head of the Zionist Union. And Herzog, in his situation, has nothing to lose because he's quickly losing support even in the Zionist Union. But if there's a peace deal offered, the Zionist Union would rally around because most of them would totally withdraw from the territories occupied during the 1967 war if they were in power. Okay. Now, at the end of the post, Smotrich clarified the red lines that must be placed in order to block the move that he believes Netanyahu is making. One, demand for massive construction outside the blocks that will make it clear that there will be no construction freeze, which means the establishment of an Arab state and the evacuation of Jewish communities. An immediate alternative for the evacuees of Amona. That's a place where Netanyahu recently withdrew families and promised them he would build them another place nearby. And the application of sovereignty over Male Adumim. These steps, continued Smotrich, will upset the cards, prove that this government is a right-wing government rather than a liberal government ready to establish a Palestinian state, and make it clear to our friends in the U.S. and to our neighbors in the Middle East that we are on the way to strengthening our hold on our homeland. The integrity of the land is more important than the perfection of the coalition. Now, the Likud will probably be very angry with me and will claim that I am making false accusations against the prime minister. They certainly do not imagine that the prime minister and the leader of their party will take the country that we love so much on such a dangerous and non-Zionist adventure. Of course, I will be very happy to discover I was wrong. But if not, then they will have to prove that the integrity of the country is also more important to them than the wholeness of their party, concluded Smotrich. Wow. So this article that just appeared in the Israeli press is stating that Netanyahu has plans. Now, if you remember when Netanyahu was in America on February the 15th, when he and Trump had a joint press conference, Trump casually said, of course, we would really like for you to not be aggressive on establishing and building in the settlements. And Netanyahu sort of nodded and laughed. Now, that was a prepared moment, unless I am sorely mistaken. Already they had discussed this behind closed doors, and by Trump nudging Netanyahu, he gave Netanyahu the excuse to restrain building the settlements, which he now has put on hold. Now, Mahmoud Abbas has always said, you stop building the settlements, we'll come back to the peace table and we will talk. Apparently, that's what has already been discussed, because there have been many meetings held, not just with Netanyahu, but also with King Abdullah II of Jordan, with Mahmoud Abbas himself. So there's a lot of talking going on. I want to show you some of the other meetings that have been held so that you can really understand what's happening. Now, I want to pause right now to remind you, the Bible prophesies a peace deal between Palestinians and Israelis. And this peace deal will look like a wonderful thing when it's achieved. Undoubtedly, Nobel Peace Prizes will be given out to the principal people involved. Yet, the Bible foretells that a short 7 years later after the agreement, everything will collapse and the Battle of Armageddon will result. So really, this peace deal is going to end up being the Armageddon deal. Now, the Bible is crystal clear about this. When this agreement is struck, if Smotrich is right, And if Netanyahu does in fact reach this agreement, then we're 7 years to Armageddon. We're 3.5 years away from the revealing of the Antichrist. We're 3.5 years away from what the Bible calls the Great Tribulation. So there's a lot of things. During that final 7 years, prophetic fulfillment is just going to be stacked one on top of another. It's going to be like the dropping of dominoes. It will be Katie, bar the door. And that's the reason I felt like I had to come back and talk to you about this today. Now let me give you some more evidence. But before I do, in case you haven't yet taken a look at our March into Savings that our promotions department has come up with for the month of March, they have 7 great deals. Go to our website at endtime.com, and there you will see March into Savings. Check it out. See what it's all about. There's undoubtedly something there you would be interested in. I'm just going to mention one thing, and that's our Armageddon collection. Since we're talking today about 7 years to Armageddon, the Armageddon collection consists of a DVD, Seeds to Armageddon, November 29, 2012. And then our From Here to Armageddon series, 8 lessons. And then another DVD, First Step to Armageddon, December 23rd, 2016, just a little over 2 months ago. So all these very current resources that you can really get an understanding, because if they get this peace deal, and it looks like they're trying to do it maybe as early as May, can you imagine if the final 7 years to Armageddon would begin in May? Now, this is not a prediction. It's not a prophecy on my part. I will tell you there's going to be a peace deal. I cannot tell you it will be May. There's reasons to believe that's what President Trump is aiming for. And there's reasons to believe that it could succeed now where other efforts have failed. One reason it could succeed is because all of a sudden, the path that Abbas thought he saw to statehood has been cut off by the election of Donald Trump. As long as President Obama was in office, Abbas could go before the UN Security Council and get a lot of the things that he wanted. Now he can't do it. The Palestinians will not be able to become members of the United Nations if they wanted to, because President Trump would veto it unless he builds that into part of the deal. If you sign this peace deal, then we will let your application for membership in the United Nations go through. We will recognize you as an independent state. In turn, you will recognize Israel as a Jewish state. So these are all cards that are on the table, or at least under the table right now. There's so much converging here. Let me tell you a little bit of the other things that's been happening. Netanyahu expects to reach deal with U.S. on restrained settlement construction. And this comes from Haaretz newspaper on March the 15th of this year. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expects to reach understanding with the United States within a few weeks on curbing construction in the settlements, according to an Israeli official. Although the understandings with U.S. President Donald Trump's administration are likely to include Israeli willingness to impose significant restrictions on construction in West Bank settlements, the Prime Minister's Bureau believes that this will not weaken the coalition. Even though he stalls building the settlements, he still doesn't believe that the right wing part of his coalition will flake off. So he's moving towards stopping the settlements, just like Smotrich said he would. Now then, this article comes from the Jerusalem Post on the 14th of March. Abbas to Trump's envoy, Greenblatt, peace deal is possible. This is the Jerusalem Post, the 14th of March. Listen to it. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas on Tuesday told Jason Greenblatt, U.S. President Donald Trump's special representative for international negotiations, that a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians is possible, a U.S. consulate statement said. President Abbas told Mr. Greenblatt that under President Trump's leadership, a historic peace deal is possible and that it will enhance security throughout the region, the statement said. Greenblatt and Abbas met at the Muqada, the PA presidential headquarters in Ramallah on Tuesday, in the second meeting between the Palestinian leader and a member of the new U.S. administration. So the administration has only been in office since January the 20th, and already 2 high officials have met with Mahmoud Abbas. And oh, by the way, Ramallah is only 15 or 20 miles north of Jerusalem. So Greenblatt met with Benjamin Netanyahu, and then he met with Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. I'm telling you, the peace train has left the station. Now, Abbas and Greenblatt discussed plans to develop the Palestinian economy and providing more economic opportunities, the statement continued. The Palestinian gross domestic product currently stands at approximately $300 million annually, far less than neighboring Israel's GDP, which is upwards of $12 billion. So we're talking about Israel's economy being, how many would that be? About 40 times as large as Palestinian economy. But Greenblatt is saying, you cooperate with us and you sign this deal, and we're going to pump money in here like there's no tomorrow. We're going to help you make your economy thrive. And of course, Donald Trump, that's his specialty anyway. So this is what's being talked back and forth. The article continues, Palestinian leaders have expressed interest in cooperating with the U.S. and Israel to improve the Palestinian economy, but have stressed that such efforts need to be a part of a plan to establish an independent Palestinian state. Is there going to be a Palestinian state? Yes, there will be. Jesus Christ himself prophesied a time 3.5 years after the signing of the peace agreement that Jews who live in the Palestinian state would have to run for their lives or else be killed. So it's going to be obvious that there's going to be a Palestinian state established in Judea, which is the West Bank, and that's exactly what Jesus prophesied in Matthew 24, verse 15 through 21. He said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation stand in the holy place, then let him which is in Judea flee into the mountains, because then will be great tribulation, such as never has been before nor ever again shall be. Right now, they are discussing turning Judea into a Palestinian state. And Jesus said Jews will have to run for their lives 3.5 years after the peace agreement is signed. Everything is falling into place. Hey, guess what? There weren't even any Jews in Judea after the 67 war, because Jordan had driven all the Jews out. There were no Jews in Judea. Today, 800,000 Jews are there because it's their promised land. It's their namesake. I mean, Jews are from Judea. Chinese are from China. Japanese are from Japan. That's their traditional homeland. And yet, someone, Netanyahu or some other Israeli leader, is going to agree to give it up, contrary to God's command, and create a Palestinian state. The result is going to be the beginning of the final 7 years and a ticket straight to the Battle of Armageddon. Now, Abbas also said he would create an atmosphere conducive to making peace and would heighten his outreach efforts to the Israeli public, the statement said. On Monday, Greenblatt met with Netanyahu for 5 hours at the prime minister's residence in Jerusalem. What I'm telling you is the peace train has left the station. It's moving ahead real quickly. Trump meets Saudi Deputy Crown Prince in Oval Office. This is March the 15th. just a few days ago. U.S. President Donald Trump met Tuesday with Mohammed bin Salman, the Deputy Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, at the White House. Close advisors to the Saudi prince said after the meeting that the two leaders discussed issues related to security, energy, and regional cooperation with other Gulf states. Saudi Arabia, which opposes the nuclear deal with Iran and is fighting the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, sees tightening of relations with the U.S. as an issue of highest strategic and economic importance. The meeting was attended by Vice President Mike Pence, Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, top presidential advisor Steve Bannon, and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, as well as advisor on Middle Eastern affairs. Debka sources report that Kushner's presence indicates Saudi Arabia's role in a future Middle East peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians and Arab countries. Well, I've thrown a lot at you, but I just wanted you to get a grasp on what is going on. And there's a lot more than this that I couldn't jam into this very short segment of time here. But because Armageddon is coming, I will be surprised if the Battle of Armageddon does not occur in the next 10 years. It will surprise me. We could see the beginning of the final 7 years yet in 2017. And that's not a prediction. It's just a very strong possibility. Because that is true, you need to be educated. That's the reason we have put together the Armageddon Collection, consisting of a DVD, Seeds of Armageddon, November 29, 2012. You need to understand that. And then the From Here to Armageddon series, 8 lessons, absolutely mandatory for every person. And then First Step to Armageddon, just produced December 23rd, 2016. All of that is part of the Armageddon Collection, and there's 20% off today, so call us. 800 End Time's the number. Our operators are waiting to answer your call.
From Here to Armageddon, a new exciting 8-lesson series to share with your friends and family. Order yours right away.
Answering many questions like how far are we from the Battle of Armageddon? What will happen between now and then? Where are we on the timeline? Your questions answered in this exciting 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon.
Go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463. Order yours right away.
Today I have some exciting news to share with you. You can now become a magazine subscriber for life. You will receive first-class benefits that will include a lifetime membership to End Time Magazine, as well as an unlimited access to the digital version of the magazine. You will also receive 20% off of all future orders at endtime.com, well, at least till the rapture happens. Never worry about missing one important issue or forgetting to renew. You can rest assured when something happens in the news pertaining to Bible prophecy, you will be informed with the most recent cutting-edge material available. End Time Magazine has been the forefront of End Time Ministries since the beginning, and we would love to join with you in this first ever opportunity of becoming a magazine subscriber for life. Join today by calling 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, or go to endtime.com.
If your station only carries the first 30 minutes of End of the Age, go to endtime.com and click the watch button to continue today's broadcast. You can also finish up later by clicking the archives button.
We are taking your calls in this segment of the program. You may have calls about some of the things we've said, some questions, and we welcome those today. The number to call me here on the air, 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. To reach our operators about our Armageddon collection, That number's 1-800-END-TIME. So 800-END-TIME to reach the operators, 877-END-TIME to reach me. Now, you've probably noticed the last 2 or 3 broadcasts, Dave and I have been off the air. Both of us were hit with this horrific flu bug. Fortunately, we're both recovering right now, so we anticipate all fresh programming throughout the rest of this week, and we hope you are enjoying it. Nevertheless, I want to take your calls. The number to call, 877-END-TIME. We do have open lines right now, so this is the time to jump in, because I have a feeling after we get going, there won't be much time left. But incredible things that are happening right now on every front. Let's go ahead and get to the phones right now. Terry is calling from Indiana. Hello, Terry. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brother Baxter. I'm trying to figure out why this is seeming, it seems like you're acting pretty serious about this as being the treaty that's supposed to be signed, when your narrative is constantly about, of course, the Bible teaches how it's going to come up out of a 10-nation alliance, out of Europe, out of European Union type situation person. So could you please answer that for me? Because that seems to come up occasionally over the years.
So I think, if I'm hearing you right, Terry, you're asking me if this is the treaty, since the Antichrist has to come out of Europe, where does the Antichrist come from that's supposed to participate in this treaty? Is that the question?
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's like, because I listen to you year after year, and I read the scriptures too, and know that it's you make a covenant, and the covenant with many for 7 years, Yeah. Well, in the middle it'll be broken and all that, and you've always taught us that it's going to be from someone that comes up out of Europe.
Yeah, Terry,
we are not Europe. So is this breaking the narrative of your whole story about America and Europe and all this?
Yeah, well, Terry, I absolutely do believe the Antichrist is going to come out of Europe. However, when you have these peace deals, normally, especially in the Middle East, they make the peace deal an international agreement.
Gotcha.
For example, the last negotiations, there were representatives there from the UN, there was representatives there from the EU. So I would anticipate when this thing really gets full tilt that there may be signatures coming from every side. As a matter of fact, the UN will definitely be involved, because the Temple Mount is going to be placed under a sharing arrangement when this deal is signed. And that means the sharing arrangement will have to be overseen by the international community, almost certainly the United Nations. So that shows me the UN will be involved. The EU will want to be involved. They're going to make it a world agreement. So even though Donald Trump may be the one of the prime movers in it, it does not mean he will be the only person in it.
Right.
And then the Bible does not tell us that the Antichrist will even be revealed at this time. So he may be playing a role, just one of the roles in the whole process, even though the Bible says he will confirm the covenant with many for a 7-year period. Yet we may not know at the time of the signing of the agreement for certain who the Antichrist is, or we may know. But the Bible does say he will be revealed for sure at the halfway point, at the time of the abomination of desolation.
Right. So well, let me ask you then for sure, because like I said, I listen to you like it's a story, same thing over. So this is just, how's this look for America for one thing, with us turning like this?
If I were talking to Donald Trump, I would tell him, Mr. Trump, do not be involved in this peace deal to give away the promised land to the Palestinians. I would tell him, however, he hasn't asked me and I don't have access to him right now. So consequently, I'm not able to do that. And right now, he says, his statement was 2-state solution, 1-state solution, whatever makes the parties involved happy is fine with me. because he obviously is not rooted and grounded in the prophecies of the Bible, so
Exactly.
he doesn't realize the
Obviously,
implications.
Mr. Pence, the Christian, is not also. Not either.
I didn't
Obviously.
catch that last thing you said, Terry.
I said, actually, honestly, it sounds like our Christian, Mr. Pence, is not obviously aware of it either.
Well, I would doubt seriously most people are not real well versed in the prophecies of the Bible. Even a lot of Christian ministers pretty well leave it alone. So consequently, it would not be unusual for them not to have a good understanding of the prophecies.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I just always listen, and I always listen to the narrative. It's the same with you, and you've been complete with that always.
Well,
that we'll basically know. I just kind of maybe thought that you more or less taught us more of, how it's going to come up kind of like out of the union type thing, and we don't see a 10-nation alliance quite yet, but boy, things are moving at the speed of light, though, that's for sure. So, bless you, brother, and thank you for your patience with me.
Okay, well, good questions and perceptive questions too, by the way, and I don't mind those whatsoever because that's what helps us all to learn.
Yeah, we have to learn together. Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, thank you, Terry. I appreciate it so very much. Let's go now to Bob calling from Pennsylvania. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Pastor Baxter. It's like God's got his foot on the gas pedal, and he's just revving up that tachometer. Things are speeding up. When you first started this today, you talked about a road, right, or a highway. You were saying something like that they would figure into this deal?
Well, actually, what I said was Smotrich was accusing Netanyahu of building a road around Iran. I don't think he meant a literal road, but he was talking about a bypass because Iran is a huge problem, and Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Egypt are all Sunni Arab nations, and they are afraid of Iran, and Israel is afraid of Iran. And so the idea behind Netanyahu and Trump is if we'll bring together a coalition of these so-called moderate Arab nations, and they would then pressure Palestine and say, we will help build you, we will fund you because these people have incredible amounts of money. We will fund you and we will make Palestine a booming nation if you will sign this agreement. And in so doing, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Egypt would align themselves with Israel and America militarily, and they would feel like they had purchased security for themselves because now they have the protection of the United States of America. That's what Smotrich, I think, was intending to say.
Okay. Well, in Isaiah 19, like from verse 16 to 25, there's a real neat section there. We talked about it one other time. I told you about a temple or a altar inside of Egypt around where Heliopolis was, and a pillar on the border of Egypt. And they were going to have on the pillar, it was going to say that was an indication that they were the Lord's, Well, in verse 23, it says, in that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria, to Iran. And the Assyrians will go up to Egypt, and the Egyptians to Assyria. The Egyptians and the Assyrians will worship together. And in that day, Israel will be the third among the Egypt and the Assyrians, a blessing on the earth. The Lord Almighty will bless them, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, Assyria, my handiwork, and Israel, my inheritance. And talking about a peace deal, we're sort of speculating what's going to happen, but if it includes all these people, would that make any sense to you?
Well, yes and no. First of all, the prophecy you've read happens during the millennial reign of Jesus once Jesus comes back to the earth. But the reason I say yes and no is because the Bible prophesies that Jordan will never fall under the power of the Antichrist, but Egypt will. So we won't get to this situation here in Isaiah chapter number 19 until the millennium, because the Bible does say that Egypt will come under the power of the Antichrist. Israel will not, Jordan will not, the United States will not, but yet Egypt will. So you can sort of see the alignment happening right now, but it's not going to hold through the reign of the Antichrist. It's going to collapse in some way or some form, according to my understanding of what the prophecies have to say.
Okay. Well, say, bless you, Pastor. I'm not going to take up your whole time. I got a million questions, but Lord bless you.
Okay, Bob, thank you very much for calling all the way out from Pennsylvania. Let me see, do I have time? I think so. Let's go to John now in Indiana. Hello, John.
Hey, Mr. Baxter.
Yes.
I was asking a question on where they say that when the tribulation period is in the halfway point, the Antichrist shows up there.
Right.
I've also had people tell me, well, it has to be Trump because he's the one that's going to negotiate that treaty. So I was just curious, do you have any information on that?
I do, John. It cannot be Trump, in my opinion, because there are other prophecies that are crystal clear that the Antichrist must come out of a 10-nation union. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 8, it talks about a 10-horn kingdom, and then it says those 10 horns represent 10 kings that will be a part of one kingdom, and then so they will be an alliance. And then another one will come up among the 10, uprooting 3 of those. That man becomes the Antichrist. So, and then you can prove from another prophecy that 10-horn kingdom will be the Holy Roman Empire reborn, which the Holy Roman Empire has always been from Europe. So we know for sure from those things that the Antichrist will come from Europe, which I believe disqualifies Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, well, you're most welcome, John. And, you know, that's the reason we talk here on these programs, is because we are living in the end time. We're not here to tell you that the end time might be coming. We are here to tell you we have entered the end time right now. You and I are in it right now. Now, can I say that this treaty will be concluded during the administration of Trump? I cannot say that. I frankly hope that he is not the main agent in the implementation of this treaty. Now, we know that Vladimir Putin is very much involved in the Middle East right now. We know that Trump has wondered if it wouldn't be a good deal to get along with Russia and work together to bring peace to the Middle East. Could that happen? It could happen. Would it be good? No, it will not be good. The peace agreement that's coming will be greeted with ecstasy, with rejoicing, with open arms. But it will be bad. It will not be good. Let me pause just a moment. We're getting real close to a hard break here. But in case you're out there and you've listened to us for a while, you've never become a partner with End Time Ministries, would you please add your strength to our strength? We have a world to reach, and our time is running out. Please become a partner with End Time Ministries today. You can do that by picking up the phone and calling us 1-800-END-TIME. Do it right now. Let me tell you today about our exciting Armageddon collection. What does the term Armageddon mean? Why is it so important in Bible prophecy in the last days? And what will happen between now and then? In our Armageddon collection, we cover subjects such as events of the final 7 years, the revealing of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, and the world's greatest revival just ahead. In this special collection, you will receive the DVD, Seeds of Armageddon, November 29, 2012, our 8-lesson series, From Here to Armageddon, along with a printout of our 7-year timeline, and our informative DVD, First Step to Armageddon, December 23rd, 2016. All of this for your gift of $140 or more, plus the cost of shipping and handling. To order your Armageddon collection, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. To reach our operators, that number is 1-800-END-TIME. You can become a partner with End Time Ministries. It will strengthen us, it will bless you, and it will certainly help extend this message around the world. We'd appreciate it so much if you can do that. We have partners for $10 a month, $20 a month, $30 a month, $100 a month. We have a lot of different levels of partners. You just pray about it and ask God what He would have you to do. We'd love to have you on board. Once you become a partner, you start receiving our monthly newsletter for partners that I personally write to all of our partners every single month, telling you the latest breaking information, what's going on inside the ministry. So you really become shoulder to shoulder. You join hands with us, and we do need your strength. So if you would like to do that, even though it may not be for a large amount, yet where there's unity, there's strength, put it all together, we can really make a difference. We have all kinds of opportunities right now to expand the network that we're on, but some of them we can't accept because we don't have the necessary support right now. So if you want to add to our strength so we can expand more and more, please give us a call right now, 1-800-END-TIME. To be on the air with me today, 877-END-TIME, 877-363-8463. And we're going right back to the phones now. Helen is calling from Canada. Hello, Helen.
Yes, Mr. Baxter, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you very much.
Good. I just want to mention something to you, Mr. Baxter, just an opinion. I listened to your DVD, When Will the Rapture Happen?
Yes.
And you mentioned in the DVD that believing in the pre-trib or the post-trib rapture is not a salvation issue. And I that maybe it is because people believing in a pre-trib rapture could think that when the time of the mark of the beast will happen, and they will say this won't be the real mark of the beast because we will not be here when this happens. So they could take it. And then, well, the Bible says that it's going to be a condemnation for them. What do you think of my reasoning?
You're absolutely right, Helen. I've often said this, that it's not really a salvation issue, but it could become that once the mark of the beast is given. Because if people are so adamantly pre-trib that they'll say, oh, I'll take this because this can't be the real mark of the beast, because when the real mark of the beast happens, I'm supposed to be gone. Then it could become a salvation issue for them if they would take it inadvertently. So you're absolutely right, and I fully agree with you.
Oh, thank you. So my reasoning was okay then.
Yeah, it certainly was. And the other thing, Helen, that I think is so important is our mindset as children of God. Should we be right now gearing up to just disappear one day? Or should we be gearing up for the greatest revival the world has ever known? I believe that the events of the end time were not planned by Satan. They were planned by God. And these events, these prophetic fulfillments will be so graphic and so stark that anybody who wants to know the truth, it'll be very easy to show them when there's a temple being built on the Temple Mount. It's going to be so easy to show them that we are already in this final 7 years. When the Jews of Judea have to run for their lives, it's going to be so easy to show them where it is in the Bible that we're now 3.5 years away from the second coming of Jesus. So it's going to be a time of tremendous mobilization of the church and also tremendous time of salvation for people. So there are two things. It's going to be a great time for mobilization, and it's also going to be a time when some people will be fooled if they're so adamantly pre-trib that they cannot possibly entertain any other position. So fully agree with you.
Good. Thank you. And is it possible to know the address of your home church and also if the sermons that are given at your home church are recorded, and is it possible to listen to them on internet? Is it something that is available right now?
Yes, it absolutely is. Now, I do not pastor, that we have a wonderful pastor there, but I do preach there sometimes. So all you need to do is call our number 800-END-TIME, and they will give you how you can listen to the live streaming
Okay.
Or any of the archive sermons, they'll give you that address. I should have it with me on the air. I don't have right now. That's a good thing for me to have. But anyway, yeah, you'll be really blessed because there's some great sermons there. There'll be a great blessing to you.
Good. Thank you very much.
So just call 800 End Time and ask them how to listen to the sermons at the North Cities Pentecostal Church, and they'll give you that information.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Have a good day.
thank you. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
call very much, Helen. Let me give you a little bit more information. I did not get all this in, but the big plan is Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Egypt, Palestinians, Israel. 6 powers in a peace agreement, at least 6. There may be others that get in on it before it's over with. But to show you how aggressively President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu are pursuing this article comes from Debka File. Trump meets Saudi Deputy Crown Prince in Oval Office. U.S. President Donald Trump met Tuesday with Mohammed bin Salman, the Deputy Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, at the White House. Close advisors to the Saudi prince said after the meeting that the two leaders discussed issues related to security, energy, and regional cooperation with other Gulf states. It goes on to say, and I want you to hear this because it's important, Saudi Arabia, which opposes the nuclear deal with Iran and is tightening of relations, or is fighting the Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, sees tightening of relations with the U.S. as an issue of highest strategic and economic importance. The meeting was attended by Vice President Mike Pence, Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, top presidential advisor Steve Bannon, and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, as well as advisor on Middle East affairs. Debka Files sources report that Kushner's presence indicates Saudi Arabia's role in a future Middle East peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians and the Arab countries was discussed. So you can see all the big guns are in here. When Saudi Arabia is there, they're talking about this because Saudi Arabia, with its oil riches, has the ability to really infuse a lot of resources into the Palestinian territories. And also Saudi Arabia is near Iran, which Saudi Arabia is somewhat of a buffer between Israel and Iran. So it's all very important. And in addition to that, while Greenblatt was meeting with Netanyahu and with Abbas a few days ago, this article also came out. Trump's envoy Greenblatt meets Jordan's King Abdullah. Not only did King Abdullah come to meet with Donald Trump about a week before Netanyahu was meeting with him, but now then, Greenblatt just last week met with him. U.S. President Donald Trump's special peace envoy Jason Greenblatt called Wednesday on King Abdullah II in Amman. He reported in his Twitter account that while in Ramallah, he also met Gazan residents as well as heads of the Palestinian security forces. Now, let's go beyond that. So, I mean, the plot just thickens. First talks held between senior U.S. official Israeli settlement leaders. Not only was Greenblatt talking to Netanyahu, to Abbas, to Abdullah II, but he also went out to talk to the settlement leaders, the Israeli settlement leaders. Jason Greenblatt, special envoy of U.S. President Donald Trump, met Thursday with heads of 2 Israeli settlements at a hotel in Jerusalem. The talks with Oded Ravivi, head of the Efrat Regional Council, been to Efrat many times, and Yossi Dagan, head of the Shramram Regional Council, were the first of their kind between a senior U.S. official and representatives of Israeli settlements. They discussed recent diplomatic initiatives and continued building of settlements. Greenblatt was to meet later in the day with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the country's chief rabbis. They're bringing in the rabbis, the head of the settlements, Netanyahu, Abbas, King Abdullah II of Jordan. I'm telling you, the Trump peace train has left the station. And then this announcement just today Trump to host Sisi on April the 3rd. A White House official said on Sunday that President Donald Trump will host Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for talks in Washington on April the 3rd. Reuters reports. The visit will be at Trump's invitation, the official added, confirming a report in Egyptian media on Saturday that Sisi would make his first state visit to Washington during the first week of April. So Mahmoud Abbas is going to Washington in April. Sisi's going to go a few days before him. I'm telling you, they're lining up at the door. It's like a turnstile. Leader after leader after leader is coming in. Donald Trump is a dynamo. He doesn't mess around. He moves quickly to make the things happen that he wants to happen. In spite of the fact that Democrats have been dragging their feet as powerfully as they can, Trump is not letting any grass grow under his feet. He is going straight forward with ultimate speed, and he's trying to get this peace deal done. Will he get it done? I don't know. There is going to be a peace deal done. I just don't know if Trump is the one to do it. However, he appears to be positioned so that he could do it, whereas others have not done it. Abbas has been unwilling to go to the table until Trump. But when Trump said a two-state solution or a one-state solution, I don't care. Whatever we can work out. All of a sudden, Abbas's ears perked up. He thinks, wait a minute, I don't want a one-state solution. If I don't reach a two-state solution, then knowing this guy Trump, he's going to push a one-state solution. He's going to tell Netanyahu, go ahead and build the settlements. Go ahead and annex Area C. I'll back you up at the Security Council, and they can't pass any resolutions against you. So I better get to a deal and get the best deal I can now, because everything has suddenly shifted. As long as he had his friend Obama in the White House, then he could put his heels in the sand and hold out for the UN to rule on his side like they did on December the 23rd. But now all of a sudden, that action doesn't have as much force as it did have, because what can they do about it? For the next 4 years or maybe 8 years, if Trump gets reelected, then everything's going to be stuck because he has veto power at the UN Security Council, and the train has left the station. That's the reason all of a sudden it appears that Abbas is going to be willing to go to the peace table. Now, it's not a done deal yet, so I'm not predicting anything. I'm just simply saying, and it's so important for us to realize, we may be on the brink. We may be on the brink of the greatest prophetic fulfillment in 2,000 years. If they get this peace agreement done, it will mark the beginning of the final 7 years to Armageddon. Get our Armageddon collection today. It'll explain everything to you. It'll help you so much. Call us. The number to call to get your Armageddon collection is 1-800-END-TIME, 1-800-363-8463, or you can order it online. Go to endtime.com. Don't forget, Armageddon collection.
End of the Age is a production of End Time Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. End Time Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.